Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehanik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim ha'im bazman hazeh.
חנרות חללו אנחנו מדליקים, אך הניסים ואך הנפלאות והשועות ועל מלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים חכם בזמן הזה. בכל 8 ימי חנוכה הנרות חללו קודשם, ואין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם, אלא לראותם בלבד, כדי לחודות ולחלל לשמך הגדול על נשיך ועל נפלאותיך ועל ישועתך.
מעוז צור ישועתי לך נאה לשבח, תיקון בית תפילתי ושם תודה נזבח, לעת תכין מטבח מצר המנבח, אז אגמור בשיר מזמור חנוכת המזבח, אז אגמור בשיר מזמור חנוכת המזבח.
Hi there, I'm Scott, and this is GreatScott Knitting Vlognukkah 2022. Welcome into night 2 of our Vlognukkah Hanukkah celebration. So exciting to have this this time of year upon us again. It's one of my favorite Jewish holidays is Hanukkah. The odd thing is about Hanukkah, though, is that in the grand scheme of all of the Jewish holidays, this one's relatively minor. In fact, it's not just relatively minor, it is very much a minor holiday. Such a minor holiday, it doesn't occur, nor is it commanded in Torah. So It is purely a rabbinic holiday. In other words, it was a holiday designed and developed by rabbis to be celebrated. It barely makes mention in Mishnah and any of the other writings. It appears in the book of Maccabees, which does not actually make it into the canon of Jewish holy writings. It really only comes to it. The books of Maccabees only really come to us from the Christians, who found it to be more important than the Jewish people. But from that, from the book of Maccabees, we do learn of the Maccabean revolt against the Greek oppressors that were in the land of Israel at that time, during the story of when Hanukkah occurs, and that is where we get the story of the rededication of the temple, which is the term Hanukkah comes to us from that. Hanukkah means rededication, or to dedicate oneself. So that's what this holiday is about, is the rededication of the temple at that time. We have the folklore of a cruse of kosher oil, which was used to light the temple menorah, that there was enough oil for one night of lighting the menorah, but it lasted the full 8 days necessary for creating more kosher oil. The 8 days also coincides with the same amount of time for Sukkot, which happens earlier in the year, around the October timeframe, and the realistic, historic aspect of Hanukkah being 8 days is that it is a replacement for Sukkot, which is a Torah holiday, that it replaced was a way to replace Sukkot, because it was missed because people were fighting a guerrilla war against the Greeks, and it was only upon defeating the Greeks, driving them out of Jerusalem, being able to cleanse the temple, to be able to get it rededicated, and then they instituted an 8-day holiday to celebrate that, the rededication of the temple, as well as the sort of to commemorate the Sukkot holiday in replacement for the one they missed. So there's a little bit of the folklore and a little bit of the closer to reality that occurred at that time. Regardless, I love this idea of rededication, and it's an idea that I'll continue to expound upon over the next few days. So knitting related, I'm a little sad because I decreased the crown and bound off the hat I was working on, and it's woefully too short. It does not do what I need it to do. As you can see here, I want it to come down here. So I'm going to undo the decreases and the bind off and the decreases, add another inch at least to the main section, and then decrease one more time for the crown. Oh well, I have the week off of work, so I have plenty of time to be able to do that, but I get antsy. I want to get it done. So that's a finished object that is going to get ripped back out, redone, so that it is the appropriate length for myself. Bah, humbug. So that's really the only thing that's happened over the past day that's knitting related. So we'll jump right into the Scott talk for the day, which is yesterday we talked about paradigm, although that the episode was really uploaded earlier today. So for night one, we talked about paradigms, mindsets, and what is yours. Tonight we're going to move from that very personal, those very personal questions of what is your view of the world, and very much focusing on the self. To night two, we're kind of moving off of that individual light to having two lights. And tonight we're talking about responsibility. The idea of taking mastery over yourself, taking full agency of your life, your feelings, your attitudes, your behaviors, your thoughts. All of those are within your realm of control, your realm of being able to take mastery over yourself. I like the word responsibility because within it you hear both the response and ability, that we have the ability to choose to respond to the situations that we face as opposed to reacting to those situations based on past behaviors or this is how I was raised to be, or my parents were this way, so I'm this way. All of those things that we kind of look at from a deterministic standpoint, the things that we say determine how we are going to be. Most of those things are not determinate. They do not control us. Now, they do influence us. Where we were raised, how we were raised, the environment and society we were raised in, neighborhoods that we grew up in, family members that were around us and how they behaved and treated us, definitely are all influences on ourselves. How we were treated in school, how easy or difficult a time we had learning. All of these things are major influences on our life, but they're not determinants. They do not determine where we can go and what we can do and who we can be. That is within ourselves to be able to make those determinations, to choose a path different from that which we were raised to, or grew up in, or live in today. We have the choice to be different than what is maybe expected from all of those outside forces. So be able to live with intention, by choice as opposed to by default. You've heard me talk on this channel about the idea of the practices of pausing and responding based on your desired results, focusing on what you can do instead of what you can't do, paying attention to your language and how you say things. Are you saying things that empower you, or are you saying things in a way that disempowers you and makes you a victim? I love the idea of approaching and talking about this concept on night two. Night one is about the individual in at least kind of in these meditations that I'm bringing forward. And so it was very much the focus on the self. What is my paradigm? What is my view of the world? How do I choose to want to be? That if I change my mind, I change my world. Night two is the realization that we do not live in the world alone. There is more than one candle. There's more than one light, and that there are two lights in a minimum in our world, if not multiple and more lights. But this idea of that there is another light out there. There's other viewpoints. There's other visions. There's other people that we cannot control. they have their own light. They have their own path. They have their own vision of what the world is. And to take responsibility for ourselves, again, is looking back at ourselves, but it's also from the idea of, I do not have to be determined by the other. I do not have to be determined by that other person out there and how they choose to behave. I can choose to behave contrary to that, or in agreement, or in alignment to that. But again, it comes down to my choice. But I love that idea that we are not alone in this world. We come into a world where there are many, many different people and many different viewpoints. And many of these viewpoints and ideas and thoughts and visions are things that we can learn from and experience from and grow from. These others can be there as a support. They can be there as a avenue of our learning, a challenge to us, to cause us to excel beyond what our own individual abilities might seem to be. They can really drive us to be better people. And so tonight I will leave you with that thought of that we have our own inner light, but we can also be guided by the light of others. So on the night of 2 lights being kindled on our Hanukkah, we celebrate taking responsibility for ourselves and allowing others to influence us to be better. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season and that you are enjoying your time that you get to spend here on my channel. So to any of you who are new to GreatScott Knitting, welcome to this channel. Welcome to this little corner of the world. It is technically a knitting podcast, but it is Vlognukkah. So I am celebrating Hanukkah and sharing my thoughts about Hanukkah with you. And to those of you who are returning, I thank you for your continued support and for being a light for me to continue this. Consider going ahead and clicking on the subscribe button so that you can help support this channel. And click the like button if you have enjoyed what you are seeing and hearing on this Vlognukkah session. With that, I hope you again have a lovely evening, lovely day tomorrow as you go into the rest of your week. I will be back tomorrow to talk about night 3. But until then, may you have peace in your home and the fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Good night.